Okay. Now, once in a while, there'll be a hard word. God will take a whole chapter to define that word. We'll take the word expedient. Okay. Now, expedient simply means, when you break down the etymology of it, to free the feet. Okay. Expedient. Now, when you look at John chapter 11, which is the very first time the word expedient is used, you will see that that whole chapter is about freeing the feet. That's what the chapter is about. Now, the dictionary is going to tell us that it's about freeing the feet, but the chapter is going to tell us it's about freeing the feet. Okay. First, we see Mary wiped Jesus' feet. Later, she fell down at his feet in that chapter. Lazarus' bound feet were loose, and Jesus was going to die for us and be our substitute. Therefore, it said in that chapter, he could walk no more. Okay? Because a secondary definition of expedient is for. So you'll find in that chapter the word for used a number of times. He died for us. Okay? So they were walking. He was going to die for us, and so he could walk no more openly. So the whole chapter is about feet and walking and whether they're bound or whether they're loose. And so the word expedient just means to free the feet. So if you don't know what expedient means, you would get the drift from just looking at the chapter. Now, you might ask, well, if God's got two words in the same sentence that mean the very exact same thing, why would he do that? Why wouldn't he just use one word? Why would he want to expand our vocabulary? What could possibly benefit us by expanding our vocabulary with all these words? In other words, why don't we just get rid of the old one or the hard one or the bad one that we don't understand and just keep the simple one? And I'll give you a few reasons. Number one, he wanted to make sure that the reader is not misunderstanding something. In other words, if he repeats something twice, we're not going to misunderstand it. Okay, I think the other reason is he wants to define words in case they fall out of use. And so the definition is built right into the verse. Also, he may want to compensate for regional variations because in England, a headache could be called a head warch. In some areas, it's called a skull ache. In some other parts of England, they call it all sorts of different things. And so you will notice in America there are a lot of regional variations, and there are still variations of English within the world today, an English-speaking world. But I think essentially the reason he's done it, or from what I found from my study, is that he wants to increase our vocabulary to increase the available linguistic tools. Now let me explain to you what I mean by linguistic tools. One linguistic tool would be something called alliteration. Okay, alliteration, just, you can look inside the word and see what it is. Letter. Okay, he's going to repeat letters so that it will be poetic, like the fowls were filled with their flesh. Okay, now children can memorize the King James Bible because it's got alliteration all through it. You can't memorize an NIV because it probably said the chickens had spaghetti for supper. Do you know what I'm saying? It isn't going to be the same way. But the fowls were filled with their flesh. Okay. Or in Job, when he was talking about the collar of his coat. Okay, the two C words are called alliteration. Now, if you called it a jacket instead of a coat, can you see he's got to have more words for a coat than just a coat? Someplace the J word might be more poetic or work out a little bit better. Now, you can do this with absolutely any verse in the Bible, absolutely any verse. But I just took one absolutely by random, and I said I'm going to just work on this verse and work on it and see what I can find of what's going on here in terms of linguistic tools. Okay, alliteration. Okay, just in Revelation 3:18 alone, we have appear, the A sound, anoint, counsel, clothed, tried, fire, wretched, rich, and raiment. Okay. Now, the reason it's good to have things that sound the same is the same reason aesthetically it's good to have your clothes match. Purple pants, orange tie, green ribbon, polka dots, plaid. It doesn't really work. Well, when you're creating something that's aesthetically beautiful, you need repetition of elements. A blue shirt and a blue top, and there's repetition creates unity. Unity creates associative meanings, and you enhance the meaning of things there. Now, the other linguistic tool that God uses all the time, if you start to look for this, you'll find it absolutely everywhere, is rhyme. Okay, now this is still Revelation 3:18. I counsel thee to buy of me, thou mayest see, thou mayest be, thou mayest see. Okay, now I just pulled those out of that verse. Now if you just read the verse, you wouldn't pick that up at all. You wouldn't pick that rhyme up. But if you start looking for the rhyme, it's built into the verse. Then if you start trying to find out the long I sounds, I tried, white, thy, eyes. The long O sounds, gold, clothed. The long A sounds, raiment, shame. Naked, may, long A sounds. You can see that God has built all of these things in. Now, if I take an NIV or a New King James and I try to do these things, it absolutely doesn't work at all. So, absolutely doesn't work at all. Now, there's something in English called stress-timed rhythms. And Shakespeare used this. They're called isochronous rhythms. Basically what it means is that at mathematically predictable intervals, there's going to be the accent on a word. Like, when I say banana, the accent is on the na, banana, okay? And so God has organized the King James Bible so that this rhythm, and this is another linguistic tool, it's called rhythm, that this rhythm occurs at mathematically predictable intervals, okay? So you would have, now we're still in Revelation 3:18. I haven't moved to a different verse. Mayest be, mayest, or nakedness. 3 syllables, accent on the first and third syllable. Okay, now that same verse, I counsel thee to buy of me, thou mayest be, thou mayest see. 4 syllables and the accents alternate. Okay? Now, if God wants to put an idea in your head together with another idea, like tried in the fire, okay, they both have long I sound. Try, fi, tried in the fire. He wants to make an association in your mind, tried in the fire, or shame of thy nakedness. They're both long A sounds. Shame, it's a shame to be naked. They both sound like a long A sound. So he's making that association in your mind. Now, if you take that verse that I just went through, Revelation 3:18, you look at it in the New King James, they've got words like you, garments, put, clothes, and you try to find any sort of rhythm, alliteration, rhyme, isochronous, whatever. None of it is going on in any of these new Bible versions.